Hi, everyone. It's Lisa with InkandInspirations.com, independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in the United States, currently coming to you from the Missouri Ozarks in southwestern Missouri. I'm so glad you're here. This is our YouTube premiere for March 10th, 2022. So if you're here with me at 6 p.m. on that date, be sure you say hello in the chat section and let us know where you're watching from. And if you watch the recording after that, you can always comment below the video. So I'm excited to be here with you tonight. Be sure you let me know if it's your first time here. I'd like to welcome you. And we are going to get started on two pretty cards. Now tonight I am working with the Amazing Silhouettes bundle and the Waves of the Ocean Designer Series paper. That's an unlikely pair, right? Well, wait till you see it. You'll learn that you can use these paper with the wave themes with just about anything else. And I'm going to show you that. So let's get started. I'm going to go through a few announcements before we start with actual projects. It won't take long. So let me get you here and get my other screen up and running. So I put my host code up there, and if you order from me and use that host code, it is very helpful for me and allows me to get goodies to share and pass along with you, my customers. So thank you for doing that. So let's look at our current promotions. I mentioned the Waves of the Ocean Designer Series paper, but there is this full suite of products that are available right now during March of 2022. And actually, the stamp set and the dies will be in the annual catalog. So it's like an early release. But Stampin' Up! Has given us some beautiful papers that coordinate with this set that are only available while supplies last. And we have this beautiful designer paper, this blue foil in some 3 different shades, and then these beautiful blue gems. And I'm using those today. And look at these. They're gorgeous. You can see I've already been using quite a few there. So anyway, I'd like to encourage you that if you are a beach lover, if you've traveled to places where there are ocean fronts, if you love the ocean, this is the set and bundle for you. Okay, it's got some beautiful dies, some great labels, but I want to emphasize that these 3 beauties down here are only available while supplies last. Now you can get the whole lot of it by just using one item number here on the front, on this front page, and you can see that, and I'll have the link in the description here. Also, after I show you the projects this evening, they're going to, I'll have links to blog posts that will have details. So you can look for that in the coming days coming up, okay? So let me take that off and go on to our next promotion here. Savings are in bloom. Now this is a great one. This little mini boss, like I call it, the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, the mini one, is available for 20% off right now, and it is $48 and great price. It's usually $60, and I'll be using that a little tonight. And then to go along with that, in the Stampin' Up! Catalog, there are these bundles that are 20% off, okay? And you can see those in the online store with the promotion that's going on. And all of these have dies that will work in this mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. So I wanted to show you in the catalog, and I'm just going to pull the big annual catalog here. So when you see a bundle, okay, or a set of dies, and it has this little mini machine by it, that means the dies will run through the Stampin' mini cut and emboss machine. So what I'd like to share though is that many of our other stamp sets, and I'll be using one this evening, has particular dies that will also work in the machine. Now some of the larger dies will not, but this machine is really handy if you travel if you are short on space, or if you just like cute little machines that work in your craft room, which is most of us, right? So if you have questions about any of that, let me know. Okay, now let me get started with our first card. And this is it. I am using this amazing silhouette stamp set. It's on page 40 of the Stampin' Up! Mini catalog. You can see it has the little mini machine here. So these dies here, there aren't dies for this. It's just these 3 beautiful stamps. And then these dies, these words dies, will run through that machine. Okay, so let's get started. I've got my supplies set out here, and I'm going to show you the measurements. So I have a card base 4 1/4 by 11. I'm using Pacific Point. I have to admit, I seldom use this color, and it is a beautiful blue. I usually pull it out for my patriotic themed projects, but I haven't done that in a while, so I was happy to be able to use that. Here is some of that beautiful designer paper, the waves of the ocean. And you can see how it's that beautiful wave water looking, but it can also be used with other things. And so you can see here how it just blends in with the rest of the card. So we'll be using that. And I'm going to pull this off right now. And I like to take care of these pieces as I go. And let's put some adhesive on this. And this is just our Tombow multi-purpose liquid glue in a fine tip container. And if you've been with me and watched me for a while, you know I've used those mainly for me so that I don't squirt too much glue out, and for my granddaughters who love to craft with me. Okay, so look how pretty that is. And I'm going to be covering up quite a bit of it, but still it's going to show, and I love it. Now for the inside of the card, I had a scrap that I cut 3/4 inch by 4. And that's going to go along the bottom here of this 4 5 1/4 piece of basic white, which we're going to use for the inside of the card. So let's go ahead and put that on, and we'll get that inside. So I'm going to come up about a 1/2 inch from the bottom. And this card, I'd like to say, you know, I cut it 4 1/4 by 11, so it's a tent style fold. I do that a lot with my cards because when I'm photographing these for you to see on my blog, I want you to be able to see the inside of the card very easily, and it's just a little easier to photograph. So that's the reason for that. But you could do these same measurements and pieces and everything with a book fold card, okay? 5 1/2 by 8 1/2 scored at 4 1/4. Okay, same thing. You could do it the absolute other way and it would be fine. Okay, let me go ahead and get this inside. All right, so now we've got that ready to go, and we're going to be working on the outside of the card. So I'm going to set this just aside, and I'm going to bring in my Stamparatus, because I decided to use this in case I needed to stamp more than once to get a good colorful image. So I have a piece of basic white cut 2 1/2 by 5 1/4. And so when I got this set up, I put my paper in, and then I centered my stamp there so it would stamp directly on top. If you've never used the Stamparatus, it is a great stamping positioning tool. It comes with these 2 magnets, and it has 2 of these plates, so you can use one here, and then if you had another image you could put it up here and bring that down. I'm just using the one image today, so that's why I just have the one connected. And then these magnets are super strong, so I suggest that you, and Stampin' Up! Also suggests that you keep them away from each other, because bam, they will slap together so quick, and they can even break if they hit together too hard. So keep them far apart. You can see I put a piece of washi tape so I can pick them up easily, and I've got them far apart in the corners of my cardstock. So I'm going to pull this up, and we're going to be using 3 shades of green here. So I am using a sponge dauber to daub all of these greens on. So I've got Granny Apple Green, Old Olive, and Garden Green. So I like to start with the light color first, okay? And when you do that, with this particular kind of stamping, you can just take the ink pad, and it suggests that you put something, you see how this is at an angle here when it goes down? If you take a stamp case and slide it underneath, it gives you a little more support, and you have that where you, if you're inking the stamp, you've got that to support it underneath, and it's not at an angle. So I'm taking my Granny Apple Green ink pad, and this is called Direct to Stamp, and I'm just going to stamp it all over, okay? I'm not really worried about how even it is because I'm going to be adding some other colors. All right, so I'm going with the next darkest, which is my Old Olive, and I am going to use a sponge dauber. Now, what I'd like to say about this is I don't have 48, 50 something sponge daubers for each color. I have one I use for greens, one's for yellows, one's for oranges, and so on. And then before I use each one, okay, I take it and I rub it off on scrap paper to get the previous green off. So I wouldn't want a really dark, like say if I used Evening Evergreen, which is a dark, rich green, I wouldn't want that color interfering with my Old Olive. So I just clean it off. And then when it gets old and frayed, I throw it away and I get another one for my greens. Okay. So let me get this back over here. This again is Old Olive. And I'm going to do like toward the inside of the tree and just dab this. Okay. All right. So there's Old Olive. Now, since I'm going to a darker color, Garden Green, I usually don't worry about cleaning the ink off the sponge dauber in this case. So I'm just going to rub this on here, and I'm going to go like around the edges. And what's so fun about this is you never really know what it's going to look like, but it's going to be beautiful, okay? So when you do several inkings on stamp, you can blow on it and moisten the ink again. Okay, and then, so I just blew on the stamp, and now I'm going to go over and press and give it a good press, okay? I usually take my fist and run it all over, and I've got ink on my nail, and there you go, okay? So what I can say here is I can tell I actually dabbed that Garden Green. You see how you can see the outline of the dauber? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just try to smooth that out just a tad. Okay? You can't mess it up. Okay, just go with it. I really could have probably left that alone, but, you know, I just had to try it. So I'm leaving my magnets separated there. I'm going to clean this stamp later. So I'm going to move it over to the side. And here is that beautiful image. Look at that. I love it. It reminds me, you get the look of embossed resist, like say if I had embossed the tree in white and then sponged around it. To me, that's the look it gives, but it's just so easy to do. Okay, so got that. And next, I decided I wanted a border along the side. So this is a scallop border, and I got that from my scalloped contour dies. These are in the annual catalog, and you can see some of these dies would be too big to go through the mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, but this one and some of these smaller rectangles will work. So will these flowers. Okay, and let me show you something. If I can find the card. What I did here is, do you see how I cut this one more narrow? I cut off about a ½ inch because I wanted to bring it in some and show some more of the designer paper. So what I do is I measure the actual stamp, and then I leave myself a little bit of white border on the side, and that's how I decide how big I'm going to actually cut my paper. All right, let's go ahead and I'm going to show you how I'm going to cut this. So I cut a 3x6 piece of the Pacific Point to die cut this. And so what I'm going to do here, and I always get turned around backwards, is that's about the length of this die. And so I'm going to pull it in a little bit from that edge. I'll have this straight edge left there so I can glue it behind this piece, okay? So let's go ahead and cut that. I'm going to get my mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, the Mini Boss. Let's pull that down. And I have, this comes with cutting plates, which I have some new ones, but I'm not ready to change them out yet. You have this platform here, okay? It goes in, and it does come with an embossing plate. Y'all, I can't find it. I have been misplacing so many things, and a lot of it has to do with, you know, my traveling back and forth from Missouri to Texas and having to take so many of my supplies. So this is about 3¼ inches, okay? And I cut this 3. And that's really a safe size to cut your cardstock that's going to run through this machine. So I'm going to go ahead. I have two of these cut already, but I just wanted to show you how I did this. So I'm going to just come a little away from the edge, and I have some Post-it tape, okay? And I'm just going to take a little piece and hold it down like that. And then I'm going to put this on top. And when you're using this machine, the important thing is to make sure the 2 cutting plates are lined up right here. Okay, so let's roll that through. And let's see our finished product here. And you can see I have a little, I needed to cut a little off on the ends. Just separate it. Okay, and I'm just going to put this aside so I don't lose that die. Let's move the mini balls out of the way. And then I have this piece, okay? So I've already cut 2 more, and you can see I used a smaller piece of paper, so I have a smaller width there of the scallop, but that doesn't matter because that part is what's going to glue behind this. And you can decide how much you want showing, okay? You just have to have enough there so that the glue will hold behind it. So I'm going to pick that up, and I'm going to line up, I think this time, just go where the very tip, let's see if you can see that, of the scallop. It's like a stitched, faux stitching there. And I'm going to try to get as much of a hump over here on this side as on this side. Okay. So I'm going to leave that right there, and I'm going to take my glue and just put a thin line there. Okay. And then I'm going to come over here, put it down, and just line it up where it's about even on this side. Okay. Then all you have to do is take your paper snips and cut off the edge. I want to do it this way where I can see the edge. There we go. Okay, so let's do it again on the other side. I'll save this for another project. Put that thin strip of glue, and then put this down, line it up on that grid sheet. That helps. I have a little stray piece there. And then I'm going to come and try to get it about even underneath those scallop peaks there. That looks pretty good. Oops. I think I need to come down just a tad more. I'm trying to get these equal, you know, going right across from each other, and that looks pretty good. So let me go ahead and cut that off. Just trim. So it's much easier to do that, you know, cut it longer than you need and then trim off the excess, okay? All right, let me make sure. Oh, and I forgot to do something. That's okay. That's okay. I'm going to do it anyway. So what I did, because I didn't want that stark white against here, I sponged around the edges with my blending brush. I know I was forgetting something, but it's okay. So when I do this now, it will ink up this specific point scallops, but that's okay, all right, because it's the same color. But ideally, you would do this before you put your scallops on, okay? So let's always start off and then rub on. See there? It worked. There are no mistakes in crafting, right? Sometimes if you glue it upside down or, you know, then you might have to redo, but this works. And I love these blending brushes. I was thinking I needed to use one for a makeup brush too. I might try that. All right, so there we go. And I try to get it a little darker around the edges. So what it did is just intensify the Pacific Point scallop a little bit, okay? The main tip I can give you with the blending brushes is to always start on the scrap paper, rub it off, and then work your way on, okay? All right, so no harm, no foul there. We got it. Got it going. Okay, where am I? Move the scrap out of the way. Bring this in. And this is going to go right here. Now see, that shows a little bit more of the designer paper. Isn't that pretty? I think it is. And I love this set. At first, when I saw it, I thought, I don't know. But I love the die cut words. Just love them. Okay, so here we go. Put it about equidistant from each side. Trying to get all those colors to show. I love that. Oh, I love it. Okay, so now, where am I? Okay, so now I want to talk to you about the die cut words. So in this, you have the word thanks, you are amazing. Okay, and so I want to show you how I make this say thank you. You have a shadow die for each word, okay, so that you can layer them. And I will tell you, don't get uptight about getting it exactly centered. I mean, that's beautiful, right? That's pretty centered. But if you're off a little bit, it still looks so pretty. Okay. All right. So I want this to say thank. So what I'm going to do, and there's a card in the catalog like this too. I'm snipping this off at thank. You can use thanks by itself. And then I'm going to come over closer to the S here and snip it off. Then when you layer it, you have thank instead of thanks, just like that. All right. And then, so let's go ahead and glue that. And I have my U already cut. And can't remember if I said, but you know, you can run these through the mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine too. Try to get that little ends there. And let's put this on. Ta-da. All right, now let's do you. Okay, so now we're going to put it on the front of the card. Thank you. So let's do that. Okay. Mia always asks me, "Are you using my glue?" Because I gave her one of these. Oh no, she does borrow, but she calls it, where's my glue? But she uses the um, Stampin' Seal Plus like a boss, and so does Lila. So that's what I have for them to use. But sometimes this is warranted, and so I give them this fine tip so we don't have glue everywhere. Okay, so isn't that pretty? Now let's get the finishing touch. Find my take your pick tool, and I'm going to use some of these dark Night of Pacific Point, I guess I should say, um, gems. These are gorgeous gems. When I saw them, I thought, I have to have them. All right. And then I'm going to take one of these. And then another little one. Come on. Okay, and there is our first card. See, isn't that paper great with this stamp set too? I mean, I love it. Okay, let me move some of this out of the way. Oh, and remember, if you comment, I do a random drawing after live and I announce a winner, which I forgot to do this time, didn't I? Okay, so for last week, I did these Easter Friends and Lala Crafts. Your name was drawn. So if you will message me or email me at lisa@inkinspirations.com, I will get this to you in the mail. Okay, it's that center step fold, fun fold. Okay, all right. So I'll be sending this card to someone. Ooh, isn't it pretty? All right. Let me put this aside where I can find it later and we're going to work with another color that's in that Waves of the Ocean Designer Series paper and make a really springtime card. Excuse my arms reaching across. And here it is. Very simple looking on the front right, but watch. Bam. Isn't that cute? I love it. You are amazing. And then there's a place to write a message inside. Okay? Simple, fun fold, but let's get started with it. Let me get all of my supplies closer to me. Okay. So we're using the butterfly this time. But first, let me go over some of the paper here. Okay, so you need, this is Calypso Coral, and it's 5.5 by 8.5. And I've already scored it at 2 1/8. Make sure to, and 4 1/4. Okay, I've already done that. 2 1/8 and 4 1/4. So let me leave that right here. And then let's go with the bigger pieces. I have a piece, and this is that Waves of the Ocean paper, 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. See the blue on the back? Ooh, I put this on my Facebook. Was it my Facebook page, Facebook group? I can't remember, about this or that, about which side you liked the best, which color. And the blue went out, but this is gorgeous too, and you'll see it's perfect for this card. So this one is going to go right here, which will be on the inside of the card. So I'm going to go ahead and put that down. I know you can probably hear the hum of the heater in the background. It's freezing in here. And it's just getting colder. I told Jackie, I said, I've got to get everything recorded, done in the studio by Thursday because Friday it's supposed to snow and Saturday be extremely cold, like low teens. So, and this Texan just not used to that. Okay. All right. So I have that done. Now I have a piece of 2 by 5 1/4 that's going to go on the inside here. And I wanted that border around it. Okay, so when the card is closed or when the tint is up, it doesn't show. Okay, so if you can write a message on the inside there. But first we're going to stamp on this. And we're doing that little sponge dauber trick again. And I have the butterfly, the silhouette of the butterfly. I'm using Daffodil Delight, and I'm going to take this and kind of twist it on there, okay? And then, let's close that up, and use Calypso Coral, and I do have a sponge dauber for that. And I'm just going to double check and make sure it's clean and doesn't have another color on it. I believe this was Calypso Coral. But you see how I can clean it off? And it almost gets clear. Okay, so that's good. So let me get this color. And I'm just going to kind of dab around the edges. Okay, then I'm going to take this. And I'm going to stamp this butterfly over here on this side. Okay, and so that is going to go right here on the inside. So as I'm gluing this on, I failed to mention this, but I have a mini workshop coming up, a mini online workshop. I have it scheduled for Tuesday, March 22nd, and it'll be about 10:30 in the morning. I'll have the event posted on Facebook and probably on YouTube. But it'll be like a YouTube premiere, and you'll see and learn more about that. I'll have that up, the information up. And I know what stamp set and bundle I want to use, but it's not for certain because of availability with product, so anyway, that's forthcoming, but you'll love it. Okay, so next I have a piece cut 2 by 5 3/8 of Calypso Coral. And what I used on that is we have this pair of textured embossing folders. Okay, I believe they're called 3D. And I think it's called Splatters and Stripes. I love these. These are like 2 of my favorites right now. And I ran this through the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, the mini one, the Mini Boss. Okay, 2 by 5 3/8. And let me move these because that's going to get confusing if I just leave those out there. Have that done. And that is going to go here on the top. So let's go ahead and put that on. So if you're enjoying this video and you're new to our channel, I'll ask you to click the like button and subscribe so that you get all notifications. So if you click the little bell that's down there by the subscribe underneath this video, you'll get notification on when I go live, which I'm going to try to do at some point. And you won't miss out, okay? All right, so this is another piece of that same designer paper, cut 2 by 5 3/8, just like this piece. And we're going to put that on the bottom. I'm trying to double check myself looking at my finished project there and make sure I don't skip a step like I did on that last one. Okay, so there you go. Okay, so now let's work with what we're going to do on the outside. So I have a scrap piece of with basic white. I was going to say whisper white. I cut it about 3x4. It's a little smaller than that, but you know, you give yourself plenty of room. And I'm using one of the dies from one of my favorite die sets, Hippo and Friends. It's one of these labels. These labels are great in this set. Okay, Hippo and Friends dies. These are in the annual catalog. And I'll cut out the butterfly after I stamp it. So I'm going to get this butterfly again. I'm going to clean it a little bit and start from scratch with the same process. Daffodil ink, and then Calypso coral ink. And let's take some of this and let's dab around the edges and stamp. Good press. There we go. Okay, so now I'm going to play with those ink pads and get the mini boss back in here. So what I'll have to say too, what I found like on my mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss and the larger one is that the bottom plate doesn't bow as much for me as the top plate. So I pretty much leave it the same every time, but you can rotate this baby, okay, to try to keep it going through. You see how that's bowed? That's just natural. You know, and it's a consumable product. You have to replace them every so often. But I use mine until they just can't go anymore. Okay, so I'm going to center this like this. And let's see. Get a little piece of Post-it tape and put that on. And let's see if I can get that through here. Run it through. When I flip those plates, it's a little more tough to run it through, but it works, and it extends the life of your plates, I believe, when you rotate, especially that top one. When you pull the Post-it tape off, do it gently so you don't pull up some of the ink, okay? You don't have to press it on there too hard. Okay, so we have that. Put my die back in the case. And so now let's get our other two die cuts that I've already done. I ran these through the mini boss as well. And these are from the Brilliant Wings dies in the annual catalog. I did the two smallest butterflies, okay? The Brilliant Wings dies. I don't know if it's still a bundle or not, okay? Sometimes, you know, when a bundle is introduced, it's grouped together with 10% off the entire bundle. And then if it carries over into the big catalog, a lot of the times they separate it and you buy them separately. That's not the case with all of them, I'll say. Okay, so just check. I know that is in the annual catalog. So now I still have some ink, some Calypso coral ink on that sponge dauber. So I'm going around the edge of the butterfly dies, cuts, plenty of ink there, so make use of it, and it just adds to the color of, you know, color coordination of your project. Okay, where am I? Now this is where you have to be careful about this. Because it's that tint card, okay, you are going to want to just kind of center this. You see these two edges here? Whatever die cut you decide to use, try to center that, and you're only going to glue the bottom half, okay? And then this one, I use the large butterfly down at the bottom and the smaller one here, but you don't want to glue it down to this because you want it to pop up with the little tent, the easel. So I'm just going to put glue on one side. But first, let's get the bottom half of this die cut. Right here in the center. I'm just eyeballing it, centering between this little edge here and then side to side here. You see? Okay. And then, did I sponge this one? Yeah. This is going to go down here, and I only glue the center of these butterflies because I like for them to look like they're in flight. And then this little guy is going to go right here, and I'm just going to put adhesive on this side, this wing. So I have a little piece of the paper that didn't, I'm going to push it to the front and then pull it off. There we go. So let's put this here. There's another one. Okay, so look. Bam. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and do my bling on the front here, and then we'll work on the sentiment. I'm using the Artistry Blooms Adhesive Back Sequins. These are in the annual catalog, and they have Calypso Coral sequins. I was so excited. Okay, so I'm going to use 3 of these. I'm going to put one here, and then a smaller one here, and then one here. Okay, so now let's put that up. I needed about a 3x5 piece each of, let me think, Daffodil Delight. Did I get all of my words? Yeah. And Calypso Coral. Okay, so let's layer these up. Here's Amazing. So you've noticed on both of these cards I haven't had to stamp a sentiment because the words, the die cut words are the sentiment. Oh, oops. On the thank you card, I figured since it said thank you on the front, you could just write your thank you message on the inside without a sentiment. Okay, I am getting glue on my fingers. So let's go ahead and put this down over top of its shadow. They stretch, so you have to be careful. Pretty delicate, but isn't that pretty? Those two colors together are really pretty. I've got you, so let's put this. Just dot that glue on. Okay, and then I can't wait to send these cards to someone. Okay, so now, oops, there we go. So now we're going to put it on the inside. We're going to say, you are amazing. So I'm going to go, you, nope, that's R. You, and I usually put it down before I actually glue it, but I'm looking at my previously created card, so I know it's going to work good. All right. But you would want to, before you glue it down, do your placement first. You know, arrange them and say, okay, this is how I'm going to want it to go. See, like this? Oh, no, not like that. That's what you don't want to do. Okay, so I'm going to come up like that. Okay, I have a little wiggle room with the liquid glue, so I'm going to slide that up just a tad. Okay. And that left more room for my amazing. And that's the reason you try it before you glue. Goodness. Okay. Now these stacked words make for a good bumper for your easel. Okay. And then while I'm at it, what I did is I took these sequins again and I put 2 over here. There we go. Okay. So here's our finished card. You are amazing. Isn't that cute? I hope you like it. Hope you give it a try. This amazing silhouettes stamp set is gorgeous along with these word dies. Again, it comes with thanks, you are amazing. Okay. And so you can, do some combinations there of your words. And remember, you can cut off the S off of thank and have either thanks or, whoops. Okay. While I'm struggling, I'm going to tell you this score needs to be really burnished well. Okay. Lots of no frustration. Okay. All right. So there are our 2 cards. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you see that you can take designer papers from one collection and combine them with another collection. I really love this paper and wanted to try it with this. So give it a try. Let me know how you like it. Be sure you like and subscribe the video if you enjoyed it. I'm so glad you were here. Be sure you leave a comment and say hello or ask a question, and I'll get with you as soon as I can. I hope to see you next week for our YouTube premiere at 6 p.m. Central Time, and I will talk to you all soon. Let me bring myself back on here if I can. So thanks so much for joining me, and I'll see you again soon. Be sure you check my blog at inkandinspirations.com. I will have this week, I posted another card using this, and then I'm going to do another project with this paper and this stamp set. Okay. And I think you'll enjoy seeing that. So thank you so much for being here. Have a great day or evening whenever you're watching this, and I'll see you again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.